Assalamu alaikum, everyone. First, I'd just like to thank Paact for putting on this conference and giving me the opportunity to speak. I want to start off with a story. Let me take you back 3 years ago to my freshman year in high school, to a Thursday morning in my comparative cultures class. We were watching a video on Islam, and as many of you know, Islam is actually a required part of our curriculum in high school. And there's a recurring image in this video we were watching, and it was terrorism. Be them suicide bombers, Taliban members sporting large weaponry, or children in jihadi camps. The images were overwhelming. But what bothered me the most was not what I saw on the TV screen, but what happened next. I felt a tap on my back, and I turned around to a kid. I turned back to him. "Yeah," I asked. "I just wanted to know if those are your cousins on the TV," he replied. I turned around without giving him an answer. The back of the classroom lit up in laughter, all to my embarrassment. So often do I wish I could go back to that time and that date to stand up for myself, because what would follow as a result of my mistake, as a result of my lack of action, would haunt me for the rest of my freshman year. Freshman year soon became a living nightmare. Constant remarks about what I hid in my garage or if I knew how to fly a plane were so common I began to expect them every single day. Let me quickly tell you another story. This too occurred in freshman year. It was lunchtime. One of my friends came and sat down next to me. And as he sat down, he said, "Man, you won't believe what happened in earth science. Everyone was ragging on you." And the worst part was I believed him. Before he had even begun to tell me what had happened, he continued, "There was a giant boom sound in class from construction or something on the roof. Almost instantaneously, name withheld made the comment, 'What's Mansoor up to now?'" And that's actually how they say my name. The class was not dumb, nor was I. I knew exactly what he meant, and they knew exactly what he was meant. I was quick to question my friend. "Did you say something? Did anyone say something?" To which he responded, "Would you have said something?" Truth was, I wouldn't have. I would have sat there in humiliation and smiled as if the jokes did not bother me. This is what we're taught, after all, right? To not let the bullies get to us, to constantly remind ourselves that we're just simply better than these bullies. Let me remind you again, this is the 9th grade, 14 and 15-year-olds. This is not some elementary school playground bullying. This is what I thought was worse. To get back to this statement, we are simply better than those who bully us, as I found out, I don't completely believe that. My lack of actions, as I can clearly see now in retrospect, ultimately allowed this anti-Islamic discrimination to take shape and spiral out of control. I wish I could say I was lying to you. I wish I could say that high school is not that bad for an American Muslim. I wish that I could say that my experiences are uncommon and that we need not worry about them. This too is not true. It sounds backwards to say that it is our responsibility as young Muslims to defeat discrimination. But no longer can we simply hope for sympathy from others and hope they'll make things better for us. We cannot simply sit back and allow these kinds of things to take place. Only we are at fault for what transpires in these situations. For those of you who have ever heard the quotation, "You will be treated with the same respect you give others," let me tell you that I've grown to disagree with this quotation quite a lot, as it has not helped many of us young Muslims. Being nice and treating others well is an inherent quality most of us possess, and by no means will it do anything to defeat discrimination against us. With this said, I will lead to the topic of my talk today, which is rising above the challenges. In addressing how young Muslims can go about rising above the challenges we face, I offer a simple solution. The solution is you must do something. You must become somebody, you must get involved and make a name for yourself. Do not settle for simply being known as that Muslim kid. For myself, this solution was not so obvious, and it was actually not something I had really strived for. By sophomore year, I had given up on trying to defeat the constant derogatory remarks and so on. I had just grown to accept it. Anyways, my first real involvement in something big was with the Young Democrats. Young Dems, as we call it, is an organization, national organization of high school and college Democratic chapters. We do different things within our communities to benefit the advancement of the Democratic Party. Currently, I'm an executive officer in their chapter at my school, which is now the largest and most active in the state. And it was through the Young Dems that I learned how important politics were in the life of a young Muslim, or in the life of a Muslim, be them young or old. For those who don't believe that politics is the place for a young Muslim, or for a Muslim at all, I ask you to turn to the many European countries that through political action have succeeded in legal discrimination against our religion. While it's not fair to say that the youth in those countries did not speak up, I believe that the failure of their voices to not be heard was due to the medium through which they chose to express their discontent. While protests, boycotts, etc. can be of necessity in many cases, they simply aren't a solution when you want to talk about improving the lives of Muslims in a westernized country. To have an impact, you must acquaint yourself with those who can have an impact, or better yet, become the person who can have that impact. I'll discuss the latter of those two in a little bit. When we look to those who can have an impact in our communities, ultimately this vision always resolves to that of politicians. My work with the Democratic Party, I believe, has been of great benefit. Having worked with people such as Dan Malloy and Richard Blumenthal, I've learned that if you prove yourself to be someone of great motivation, determination, and especially value and intelligence, they will take the time to sit and talk with you. I recall a conversation with one of the candidates at his office in which he jokingly said to me, "So you're what, 16? You know you're 16, right? What are you doing in politics?" I chose to respond with a more serious tone. "Politics is the place to be if you want to make a difference." "What difference do you want to make?" he said. I knew he was expecting some sort of lame, "I want to change the world" kind of answer, and I guess he wasn't completely wrong in that sense, because I would love to change the world, but I know the reality of it, and I know that to change the world, it takes a great deal. It starts with changing perceptions, ideas, people, and hopefully communities, eventually communities. My response was a little more than I think he was ready for. I explained in brief detail how I had been impacted by political action against Muslims worldwide, and how I worried how quickly the trend in Europe would come to the United States. "I know this is just Connecticut," I said, "but for me it starts with Connecticut." I went on to tell him that if there's one thing I ask of you, it is that you remember me as an American Muslim, as someone who is concerned not just with the plight of my own community, but with the issues that impacted us all. His response was quite long and definitely reassuring, but one thing I remember him most vividly saying was this: "I'll be honest, I've never really interacted with a young Muslim like yourself. Never before have I met you so vocal, so honest, and so sincere in his concerns. When I think of the Muslim community, rest assured your image is forever in my head." He went on to say, "I'll also remember how you skipped school to come to Hartford and work for me. I better not be getting any phone calls from your school." I remember leaving his office that day and heading over to the Expo Center for the state convention. I was working for the Democratic headquarters for the rest of the day and the night. At 16, I had full security clearance, and to put that into perspective, they gave me higher credentials than the Attorney General. I'm not one to bask in my own accomplishments, but I realized that sitting behind that table, registering delegates from around the state, that I was someone, that I was doing something. So what has all this work really done? In my opinion, it has done quite a lot. First, I feel confident in that if any anti-Islamic legislation were to come to Connecticut or anything of that type, there are politicians I know I can count on who will remember me, who will remember all the other Muslims who are making an impact for themselves in our community, and they will act accordingly, and this is a really great feeling. But to me, getting involved means staying involved and constantly looking for ways to do greater things. For myself, this call to action arose this past fall, the beginning of my junior year. I wanted to bring together students in my school, the Christians, the Jews, the religiously apathetic, and most importantly, the 5 to 10 Muslims who made up a great minority. After about 2 weeks of working with those who supported me in this pursuit, I succeeded in making enough a reality at my school. Enough's an acronym on which the club acts. E stands for education, N for necessity, O for opportunity, U for understanding, G for giving, and H for helping. It's a lot to remember. It was through this group that I learned to become a leader. I learned how to make things happen, and most importantly, I learned that age has no relevancy at all in the impact one can have in this world. Enough started out small. We started off the year with a little peace rally at Town Hall. It proved to be an incredible way to socialize with others on a whole different level. The night before the rally, we got together at my house and we made posters. And I remember group members were astonished at some of the facts and figures we had looked up to put on the posters. Be it the struggle of the Palestinian people or those from Iran or Iraq or Pakistan, etc. The night quickly became a night of education. A member in our group spoke up, saying he was from Afghanistan. Quickly, he was bombarded with questions. He was given a platform from which he could explain the problems of his country and that of his own people. Another fellow Pakistani member spoke to others on Pakistan and what was going on there. And though I could literally pick out any member from my group and explain how they've made a name for themselves and what they've done, I'll focus on these two kids. So these two students, one's a sophomore, the other's a junior, were astonished by the interest that we had sparked in the Middle East at our school. They became leaders. From helping organize a talk at our school from the Yale Muslim chaplain to now being at the forefront as leaders in charitable activism, they've really done quite a lot.